I've also researched the marketers in coaching. So I've joined quite a few kind of, like the high ticket marketing stuff to see how coaches are being told to market, because you can't put a gun to someone's head and tell them what to do. If a coach is quite desperate to get clients and there's a marketer promising the world to them and they invest, I think it's about $6-7 or something for these courses, then they're likely to do what they say. And I'd listened in on how they were treating the discovery call, and it was high pressure, pretty much forcing you to commit to a coaching program that was, $6-7, not letting them get off the phone. There was a woman there, I think she was going through a divorce with a husband, and it was really sad because you listen into these calls and you can tell she's in a really just a lonely, vulnerable, sad place where she needs a therapist. She doesn't need a coach right now. She doesn't need goal setting. She's just in a bad place. And we were listening to this call, and she would put it on kind of mute and hear to the salesperson. It was like, drive it harder, do this, and ended up getting $3,000 out of her when she said she hardly had any money. She was going through, all these struggles. And it was the ones like that that I think are just so sad when you hear it, because you could maybe, granted, you can't force anyone to do anything, but you could tell the coach wasn't that way inclined naturally. They were being pushed to act that way, and as if that's the only way they get a sale. So I think that's another challenge that you've got. You've got this huge growth of high ticket marketers. I get approached by them, every other day.
The 6 and 7 figure promise is dangled in front of us every single day. Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. And I think if you're in maybe a bit of a desperate state, you think, 6 figures would be quite nice. It wouldn't be insane to think that would be a normal thought process some people have. And you part with this money, then you're probably going to be pushed to, potentially for some, if they're in a bit of a desperate place to get clients, they think that's what they need to do. So I also think the marketers, that's something I've been looking at quite a lot, because some are glaringly obvious, but then there's others that maybe aren't so much. And the way that they're telling people to approach selling coaching is not ethical in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the coaching industry and the coach that gets the brunt of that, but they also need to be held accountable more on what they're telling coaches they need to do to be successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. And those all horrible stories, everything that you've shared, is really not doing any favors to the coaching industry in general, especially an industry that's not regulated. And I know you've been studying the market for a while now. Coaching has been booming in the last 5 to 10 years, whether it's true coaching or not. People still call themselves coaches. How do you think people's perception of coaching has changed in the last few years?
It's interesting, actually. I definitely noticed a shift in the pandemic. There was, business coaching kind of went through the ground for a second, but personal coaching, I was getting quite a lot of inquiries, people asking me for personal coaching, because I think a lot of people, when the world stopped, they were left alone with their thoughts and, decided, is this the relationship I want? Is this the career I want? Do I want to start a business? Do I want to do all these things? And it opened their eyes up to coaching might actually be a good option to help me decide. So I'd definitely say I noticed a lot more people seem to be open to coaching. A lot more people were asking me about coaching. Quite a lot of people have been making a lot of changes, big changes, a huge amount. I've seen so many career coaches or people that were business coaching move to being more career focused, because so many people were changing careers or trying to figure out what they wanted to do. So in terms of that, I think it's been really good. It's been really positive. More people have been open to it. I'd say on the flip side as well, a lot more coaches have entered the market, which is, it's great for a lot of reasons, because coaching's a great tool, more coaches for people. But I think it's getting harder to market. It's getting harder to differentiate. And I think some people are starting to get a little bit knee-jerky when you say you're offering coaching. They kind of initially go, I don't need a coach. A coach can't save everything. I've heard these stories. So I think there is a side where there's still some work to do. But also I think some of the horror stories and some unethical coaching is just not helping that at all, which naturally, when you've got a lot of people entering the industry, there's going to be a mixture of people that are, especially if they've lost their role, if they're just going in wanting money because they need money, then they're not coming from a place of their clients' best interests at heart or serving their clients. It's how can I make as much money as possible from this as quickly as possible? And, from a client's perspective, that's not the best experience. If you've got a coach that only wants, you might not even be a right fit for each other, but they've just taken you on and promised the world just to get money out of you. So I think that would be the flip side of it growing so much, that it's getting harder for people to differentiate between those two types of coaches.
Yeah, you've pinpointed right there the big difference. People who are coming into the market because they are in for making a quick buck. Actually, you can join the market whenever you want because it's an unregulated market. You can call yourself a coach if you want to, but my guess is that these types of situations happen less with people who are qualified, trained coaches who actually know what coaching is and have been through a rigorous training and abide to the code of ethics and everything. Then it happens with people who all of a sudden wake up tomorrow morning and say, hey, I'm a coach. Let me just go and make some money. And it doesn't help that the marketers dangle the 7-figure, 6-figure business in front of people. So maybe they can be excused from that point of view, but really there's an awareness piece here and an educational piece about what coaching is and what it means and so on. So speaking of that, and to make sure that people who are looking to hire a coach don't fall for these traps and work with someone who's unscrupulous, what are some of the things that we need to keep in mind when we are looking to work with a coach ourselves?
So it's interesting. When I was researching it, there was over 650 coaching schools globally, and a very small percentage were, accredited. And it's funny, I actually watched a kind of undercover, I think it was in Australia, they arranged calls with a number of different coaches that, promised the world. And one of them had actually finished the coaching qualification they said they had on the taxi there to meet them. So that really opened your eyes up to the different types of qualifications. It's a case of get a certificate. I think that's where people don't know where coaching is versus mentoring training, because when people say, oh, I've been coaching all my life, I've been helping people all my life, you go, there's a lot more to it than that. I would say from my experience speaking to coaches and listening, speaking to people, I'd say ones that talk more than they listen. I've had a couple of calls, discovery calls in the past where I've not got a word in edgeways, and then they've just been telling me how brilliant they are, and then we've got to the end and they've asked if I want to be coached by them. I was like, do you know my name? I'd say that's definitely a big one. Also ones that come with the stance of I'll fix you or guarantee certain outcomes. I've seen a lot, and I understand from a marketing perspective, you need to give some insight in what the possibilities are, which case studies are helpful to showing the possibilities. But when you promise a certain outcome to someone, you don't, with the coaching process, it could end up anywhere. There's a number of times I've hired a coach for one thing in business and I've ended up talking about my personal life. Like you'd never know the outcome of it. So I definitely say there are two parts of it, and also the sales process, which is a big one I focus on a lot on. I don't think people should be high pressure sold to, and their fears and vulnerabilities used against them to pitch a sale. And I think that's something that I hear from a lot of people that have had bad experiences, is that they kind of felt that they had absolutely no choice. And I've had calls with a few, and it's a horrible experience where you you wouldn't have a call with another coach again, because your heart's going, you're thinking, you know, they're telling me it's my money blocker, but I'm saying, no, something's not right here. So yeah, so there are a few, but I'd definitely say training, doing a online check as well. So I've had a few coaches that have told me they're very experienced and all these things, and then I've gone onto groups and seen that they only started coaching a couple of months ago. So I think just being authentic, like, there's obviously people start somewhere, that's absolutely fine. But I think, again, maybe with the marketers, that you need to get 6 figures straight away. You know, it's not if you're just starting out, then if you come in from a place of pretending that you've got a lot more experience with clients and coaching than you have to get a higher rate, then, you know, that's another thing that I've seen a couple of times as well, which part of our kind of vetting process too.